Não perca no vídeo de hoje uma entrevista exclusiva com o Jeremy da Jers Group a respeito das novidades do Panamá. Como todos estão falando, o Panamá incorporou regras mais duras a respeito de substância econômica e claramente isso interessa os brasileiros. Um, que já tem estrutura no Panamá e dois, para aqueles que pretendem gerar alguma estrutura no Panamá. Então, me acompanhe nesse vídeo, aproveite, já se inscreva aqui no canal, não deixe de me acompanhar sempre, tá legal? Porque eu estou trazendo sempre, com essas parcerias envolvidas pelo mundo todo, as novidades de cada uma das jurisdições e toda a relação com os brasileiros, a questão da tributação. Então, não deixe de me acompanhar no vídeo de hoje, após a vinheta em entrevista exclusiva com o Jeremy da Jers Group. Hi, Jeremy. How are you? Good to hear you.
I'm
Good to
good.
have you here.
Good to get back with you.
Last week, I had many people asking me about the change in Panama, about the new law and the economic substance. And people, they are kind of worried how this would affect Brazilians if they're willing to build something in Panama, or if they have something in Panama. They're a little bit concerned about if it's going to get too expensive. How does it change? I think that the main concern is people, they have like foundations or a private investment company, and it was built just to hold their assets. They do not have a big economic substance in Panama. I just want to hear about your insights as a specialist in the Panamanian law and in building
Absolutely.
structures in Panama. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So first off, the really good news, it doesn't affect foundations at all. It only affects holding companies, which are typically going to be SAs. And of SAs, it will only affect SAs that are considered multinational companies, meaning the SA itself is actually holding companies under it from different jurisdictions. Now we're still waiting from the full guidelines on what exactly will be classified as a multinational and what will not. Sort of the rumors and from our government contacts on the ground, likely if you have a single US LLC that is owned by, say, a Panama SA, that will not count as a multinational structure. You'll need different companies from different countries, which is good news because, like most Brazilians, it's a simple structure. They either have a foundation by itself or a foundation in an SA, and there's nothing below that. If there is something below that, oftentimes it's just a single company from another country, and likely that's not going to be classified as a multinational. This law goes into effect at the beginning of next year, 2027, and we should receive the full guidelines, what constitutes this multinational in the next couple of months. The other like important note I think is, okay, well, what if, the LLC in the end does constitute a multinational structure, or what if one of the clients does have something that is multinational? What can they do to avoid this 15% tax? And the answer is substance. What the OECD and Panama want is to show that this SA, this company in Panama, does something. And they've already released some guidelines that give us a clue. And in pretty much every case, if even if it is just a basic holding company, we're going to be able to create the substance for our clients. And this means we're going to be able to provide them with an office address that they will have access to, not just like a virtual office or a registered agent office. We're talking an actual physical office, but that office can be shared by multiple clients. Sort of think of like a co-working space. Additionally, the company itself is going to have activity in Panama. It's going to have board meetings. Again, that's a service we're going to be able to help with, and it's going to have accounting requirements. And from what we're hearing and seeing, there's going to be specific criteria. So it's going to be something that is quite clearly defined. Substance means this many hours per year. And what we're hearing is generally 20, 25 hours, somewhere in that range.
Perfect.
So what we're putting together proactively, and then of course we'll tweak it with adjustments once the actual final guidelines come out, um, will be substance packages, and we'll have different types depending on the needs of the companies. But these substance packages will include all of those things so that the SA can be completely compliant and avoid paying that 15% tax.
Amazing, amazing. Sharing so a very good light on this subject. And Jeremy, one more thing. Like that Brazilian is going for the next elections, and people they're a little bit worried about what's going on in Brazil, and maybe they want to structure something right now. We know that Paraguay is a very good option for a fiscal residency, changing the fiscal residence, basically making getting out of Brazil before it implements an exit tax. And but regarding your view of the world as a specialist, what do you recommend regarding Paraguay and Panama if people want to do something? Either Paraguay or especially Panama for now, in regard of this new law, they could start structuring right now, and later on they would adapt. Is that your recommendation?
100%. So on the fiscal residency side, both Panama and Paraguay work perfectly for Brazilians who are looking to leave the tax residency in Brazil. The second component of that that's equally important is the structure. And we're still, in many, many cases, recommending Panamanian structures. Right now, there is no substance requirement. It does not go into effect until the next year.
Hmm.
But regardless of those final guidelines, the structure you form today will work next year. It's just going to be a matter of adding substance to the company, which quite honestly is something we were doing anyways before this law came to be.
Yeah.
Because you take a Brazilian living in Brazil, if it's strictly a holding company, the Brazil tax authorities are going to see right through that. So one of
Hmm.
the ways to make that company stronger is to build substance. So it's something we were already very much doing before this law came into effect.
Perfect. Yeah, with the Brazilian legislation, it changed recently. You have the options of opacity and transparency, and you're totally right. I think that people are worried about that the structure. For now, they will have to opt between opacity and transparency, and if they opt for opacity, they will need to pay taxes on this structure every single year based on a balance sheet. So for now, for Brazilians, what you recommend is if you are willing to open an offshore company in the new scenario of the elections, people are afraid. Basically, they will. What you recommend is a foundation now or a private investment company. What you recommend? If they do this, probably they will opt for opacity. And then, how does it work? The taxing system in Panama. If they opt, so basically in Brazil, they opted for opacity. They will need to pay taxes if they are a fiscal resident in Brazil once per year. 15% on the income of that company based on the balance sheet. And what about the Panamanian side? How does it work? The taxation in Panama regarding this structure that Brazilians may opt.
So in Panama, the country has territorial taxation and this territorial taxation is applicable both to fiscal residencies, but also to the structures. So to the foundation and the investment or holding companies. So by that system, the tax is going to be zero unless there's specific economic activity in Panama which most Brazilians are not going to have. So, if you open up a restaurant in Panama, physical business, yes, you'd be subject to Panamanian tax. But if it's a holding company, if it's for investments, if it's for businesses that have activity in other countries besides Panama, the tax is zero.
Amazing, Jeremy. Jeremy, I would like to thank you so much for the updates. This is amazing for our followers, for Chairs Group in Brazil, and also for my Instagram and my channel on YouTube. We plan on doing this regularly because it's really, really precious to have your view about the subject. And I know that it makes a lot of interest. That many people are interested in this subject in Brazil regarding the tax law system around the world. And it's amazing to have you here. We'll keep doing this together. Okay, my friend? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you.